Hello and welcome. I'm going to present myself, so that will be quick. My name's Martin. Uh, I have my slides in Swedish, but I will speak English. So you might have heard that there's a method called early release often, where the reason for the early release often is that releasing is hard, and some people make sure to have a big release process around it to make it slightly easier, but it doesn't get easier, it just gets more complex. So if you release more often, you learn more along the way while you're releasing, and it gets easier and easier. And this is a pattern. This is a method, but it's also a pattern. So if we do this in general, if we communicate better, you see what I see, good. You get more understanding, and this starts an unconscious improvement work in your heads. Doesn't have to be specific. Don't have to think about it. It just happens basically. So the meta pattern you can look at from this is that if you have some kind of frequency of doing things, if you increase that frequency, you will automatically get a better improvement work going on, and you will basically win. So I've called this pattern increase the frequency. And it can be used wherever. New situations might be that you can get automatically a better teamwork by just increasing the number of times that you meet each other. You could relax your organization if you're doing a transformation or something by just communicate more often and make space for more communication often. So this is what I'm going to talk about, meta patterns. Because complex systems means that we have very unclear relationships between cause and effect. And there are methods for this. We have methods that actually solve complex problems, but they are usually like, oh, if you take this area, if you take releases, we have a solution here. But we can actually extract the good things from it and find more alternative ways of working by digging up the meta patterns. And we can't do all of the new methods ourselves, so let's just steal. That's the idea. So I'm going to go through a bunch of patterns that I've seen that might be useful to you. Here's one that you might have heard about. Feedback loops. Basically means that if you continuously correct or improve, you will adapt better to the situation. And we do have this in iterative development. We have it in other feedback loop methods. You can probably name more than I can. The general meta pattern is an experimentation that we think about things as, let's try something and see how the world reacts, right? And we can use this in other situations. We can use it as leaders to build trust with our organization, where we can listen and we can act on what we heard, and then we can listen again, and then we can act on what we heard the second time, and then we can listen again. Pretty simple pattern, but it's definitely a pattern that can be reused. We can also create a sustainable workload for ourselves by trying something, discussing something, and then trying something, and then discussing something and trying something. So super simple pattern. I wanted to show you this just to explain what I mean with a meta pattern. To make it a little bit harder, here's another that I called breathing, which is used to really make sure that you use all the brain power of all the team members that you have or colleagues that you have. A known method is pull requests. As a developer, you might work on one code base, you check out part of that code base, work individually, and then you merge whatever you worked on, including code reviews, etc., together with other people and then you're already, and then you can check out a new thing. So you go back and forth between collaboration and solo work, basically. And we can do that in anything. It doesn't have to be code. So we can go from sync meetings that we have to more work meetings. And we can go back to sync meetings, and then we can go to work meetings. Same pattern, breathing in and out. We could focus on, we could help people focus a little bit better, people who have different needs for energies and social situations, where you work alone and then you work together, and then you work alone and then you work together. And the more we do this, if we combine this with the frequency increase that we had before, the more we do it, the better team maturity we get as well. So I can really recommend you think about breathing. This is one of the best patterns that I've used. Here's another called Think, Make, Check. It comes from UX methods, design thinking, even Toyota Kata is using it, if you've heard of that. And so it's basically, first you set the goal of some kind, first you think about what to do, then you do it, basically. But you check as well, so that you can adjust along the way, adjust the goal, adjust the method that you used. So think, make, check again. So it's very short feedback loops, but it's 3 steps instead of 2 steps that we talked about before. And a new situation that this might be used in is when you develop people in your team. So you can, normally it's a 1-year cycle of performance reviews and stuff, but this you can actually do more collaboratively, faster, by just, let's set the goal, let's have a very clear phase where you actually work towards that goal, and then check together how's it going, working towards that goal, and iterate, basically. Also a quite simple pattern. This is a tougher pattern. It's called the ideation process. And it's the pattern is that you start with some kind of a problem, and you want to end with a solution, of course. And to get there, you introduce different things. You introduce the openness of idea generation. You introduce the more structured cutting things method for prioritization, and you can introduce different kinds of additions and injections to this to make people think more about the problem. And this can be used in any, it doesn't have to be ideation. It can be any kind of initiative where you make sure that you give the people who are going to work with it a problem to start with. And then iterate like this and inject new things in it, help with prioritization, and so on. Last pattern is 2 patterns, which you can use for better impact, basically. One is Scrum, which is basically planning, work, a review of what has been done, and a retrospective on how we've done it, and then you iterate. The other pattern is the bonus thinking hats, which helps you have different perspectives on the situation. The pattern is called Jackhammer, and it looks like this. Very much information, but basically you do very short iterations, like 30, 45-minute iterations, where you take on different roles, so that you can look at what you work on from different perspectives. Everyone's fast taking a picture. Good. So, to summarize, I would recommend you to use meta patterns to try to find these meta patterns. And the meta patterns of pattern of meta patterns is that first you note that there's some kind of method that works in complexity, and then you just steal that one. But you have to understand it very thoroughly to actually be able to use it in a good way and win. And a very common method that uses this is piracy. Seems to have been working for quite some time. So why not just do what they do and steal? Thank you.